Hi, welcome to the Market Alert for Friday, 1st of December 2017. I have to think what day it was and what date it was then. So much going on at the moment, which we're going to wade through now. I'll try and keep it brief, but there's an awful lot of activity going on. So we'll start with the pound, have a look at the Dow, and then finish off with, obviously, the implied volatility, which is very interesting. And then a look at Bitcoin as well, which seems to become part of the Market Alert now. So the pound yesterday was sideways until I think Draghi opened his mouth or something happened. The US dollar decided to move lower and all of a sudden we were off. Received a message from someone saying what happened to the euro. That shot up as well. And couldn't really find an awful lot about it, only to pin down something on Draghi coming out of the woodwork and saying something. So yesterday, as I said, we've got this changing trend in the pound. We were looking at the market to take out the 135 level, which it did yesterday, and it is currently above that as well. Actually did it on some buying there as well, which you can see with the green bar. News-wise, actually just before I move off there, you can see having closed above the 76, then the next upside target is going to be the 136.56 level there. News today, what have we got? Again, a lot of bankers out today. Yes, that's with a B. FOMC Kaplan speaks, manufacturing PMI and Harker's out at 3:15. No major players today, no doubt starting to curl up in a corner and cry about what's going on with Bitcoin and how it's going to impact the markets, and again more on that in just a moment. Well, it's going to pull apart their empires, that's what it's going to do. So the Dow yesterday, well, it was up in the pre-market session. I sent a note out to say that we'd gone through the 24,000 when no one was looking, and it just continued higher. And the reason for this is the tax reform bill was in the House yesterday in the US, and you just see the market going and going, and it was something like 300 points. Let's just have a quick look from the 24,000 all the way up to about there. Yeah, 327 points. No stopping it. It was just going like a train, and you get days like that. But as night follows day, it isn't going to do the same today, or it shouldn't do. And the reason for that is this. We've got a situation, let's wind it back, potential nightmare scenario for the GOP, and that is tax vote delayed to Friday may include 350 billion in new tax hikes. So that's a bit of a problem for the market today. It's got to wait and see what the vote's going to be, and after such a massive move yesterday that you can see here, and there seems to be some sort of buying drive in the market, it's likely it's going to be fairly quiet until the vote is through, and then what happens thereafter. But this is a classic blow off top situation where the market will need to breathe. There's no doubts about that before it can move once again, unless we get into the parabolic phase, as it's known. It's already parabolic in my opinion, but where you get X number of days, parabolic moves just keeps going and going and going. It just does this, the same as we saw with Bitcoin, and then eventually it stops. But unlike Bitcoin, which is a free market, the Dow is rigged, as we know. The everything bubble, everything's in the bubble, and everybody's talking about Bitcoin being in the bubble, which is slightly odd, really. Right, so have a quick look at the implied volatility. A very interesting picture here. So the implied volatility, yes, very interesting. How can the market go up 327 points and go from 9.96 to 10.79? Something's not right then. They're quite worried about the price activity for yesterday. The put side options obviously undervalued that they've moved this to this level. Like I say, 327 point move yesterday is massive. That's besides the pre-market numbers, and no, all based on what, passing a tax bill. Something is seriously wrong with this market to do this. So again, the only sane thing, I mean, what it goes to show is that now the crowd are starting to be concerned. And when I mean the crowd, I mean the option sellers at the CME, saying this is not right at all. And also, if you look at the VIX, this too was up yesterday as well. You can see there moving straight up, which is not the way things normally work. This would move lower. We know what they've been doing with the volatility for the last few years. If you look at the monthly charts, you will see a massive increase in volume in the VIX. And this is where they've managed to drive the market down, and it's been sideways for a long time. And in particular, if you look here, the whole of 2017 has been incredibly range bound, and at some point it's going to do this. No doubts about that either. Right, let's have a quick look at Bitcoin. You can see there, starting off with the daily, the market's had a run up, has definitely been a bubble in this. There's no doubts about that, but unlike the rest of the markets, it does correct. It has big corrections, many thousands of points corrections, because, as I said before, it's a free market. In the 4 hour, you can see that this is definitely still correcting. Interesting level here at 8,949. Needs to breathe before it can move higher again. And in the 60-minute, you can see exactly the same. The market there. Get the right tool. I thought I had the right tool. There you go. Also moving low, and again, 8,949 is a critical area. Lot more news to cover as well. Interesting one here, that the Australian banks, first housing bubble bursts. First the housing bubble bursts, now a public inquiry. You see, this is what makes me laugh. Anything in the so-called normal world, which isn't normal, with regards to all of these everything bubbles, which we've spoken about before. Anything happens and there's an inquiry, oh, hang on a minute, why is the housing market bursting? It'll be the same with the stock market as well. Well, what went wrong when it all goes pear-shaped? That shouldn't have gone wrong. It was different this time. This is a brilliant article, well worth reading. I was in the camp that Bitcoin was a one-year wonder, or a here today, gone tomorrow type of thing, and it's not. Once you understand what's behind it, the blockchain, and how decentralized it is, on the contrary, completely different. And this is why, if we just move through these, you will see that now central bankers are starting to get concerned because of the decentralization. There's no debt in Bitcoin the way it's issued. It's not. It can't have fractional reserves. And this is why they're starting to get upset about this. So we just go back to this one here, or taking note, now they're actually waking up to it. Just go back to here. This is a brilliant headline as well. This is just typical of the central bankers. That wasn't the one I'm after then. This is the one I was after. This time this time is different, part one, but Bitcoin isn't. So if you get 5 minutes, have a read of this. And also, this is, you can't beat this. I mean, the criminals that run these banks, in particular Jamie Dimon, as he says here, it won't end well. It's a fraud, worse than the tulip bulbs. And you think, well, how can you make these accusations when this is as it says here, oddly. Many of these same detractors spend a lot of time cheerleading the other bubble, the everything bubble, stocks, bonds, real estate, even ETFs, you name it. And also, this is a man who was trying to hide an investigation into JP Morgan as well. So they're just a bunch of crooks. And this is the thing with Bitcoin, because of its the trust system that it has, nothing can be hidden. And this is what they're fearful of. There's no doubts about that. But very well written article here, and I'm going to go through it all here, but definitely have a read and start to understand why this is completely different to what you think it is, because obviously you've got this mainstream central banks as well, everybody bashing it, because and I was one of those until I actually got to grips with what it actually is. Yeah, there's going to be bubbles, yeah, there's going to be corrections, but it's not what you think it is. Take it apart, have a look at it, and you'll realize that this is something quite special. Other news, and also, as I say, beyond special, it's a paradigm shift as well. Here's another one you see. We give up government spending and deficits soar. It's the fiat system, the current system, is going to end badly, as we know. There's no doubts about that. I won't keep going on because obviously, here's the other headline as well. Yeah, this was another one as well. How this is dressed up. Crypto carnage continues. Well, I haven't seen any carnage. I'm seeing a pullback as the Fed warns digital currencies could pose serious financial stability issues. Damn right they will, because people will say, do you know what, we can actually be free from the shackles of the credit debt-based fiat system that we've got now, and that's why they're getting very, very concerned. They're going to do everything they can to bury this, take it from me. Again, here's another one. White House says it's monitoring the Bitcoin situation. So if this was a bubble, why are they monitoring it? Why all of a sudden are they taking interest in it? Because the people are waking up and people are saying, do you know what, here we have a system that's decentralized. We're not going to pass the burden on to our children, our grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. There's that one I was mentioning to you before. This time is different. Part 1, what Bitcoin isn't. McCain mania sends Dow soaring to record highs. He's backing Trump's whatever it is. Yeah, and as David Stockman says here, couldn't say it better myself actually. Bitcoin is neither an outlier nor a one-off freak. It's a poster boy for an unhinged financial system where honest price discovery, two-way markets, fear of risk and financial discipline have been completely destroyed by the central banks, and that's why the central banks are worried. Like I say, there's plenty in there to actually get your teeth into, but have a look on YouTube and have a look at the blockchain, because that's where things are going to change. See, here's a great paradox here, isn't it? Bitcoin is a bubble, but it's okay for the Dow to go full Bitcoin, as we saw yesterday. That's what I say, the hypocrisy of all of this lot's breathtaking. The central banks are worried about cryptocurrencies, and so they should be as well. Right, that will do. Otherwise, we'll be here for days talking about this. If there's anything happening today, I'll let you know. I would think, pending the vote on the tax reform bill, waiting, the market's going to be fairly quiet. And when you get a massive move like you got yesterday, generally that is the case. So just be warned on that as the market waits. If it gets voted early, then you'll get a reaction. But otherwise, if it gets delayed again, then it will be a case of sideways to lower. Right, that'll do it. Have a great weekend as ever. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.